how effective or necessary is it to have the right processes built into your business? How do you know if they're working? How long do they work? Do they work in perpetuity? When do you know when you need to update them, upgrade them, throw them out, and build new ones? Well, today, we're going to learn all about how to build simple and effective process for your business, because every business runs on process, whether you realize it or not. Welcome to the Key Hire Small Business Podcast. My name is Corey Harlock. I'll be your host. And today I am super excited. Our guest is the owner of Remote COO. They have been in business, she said in February, it will be 18 years. Sasha Crabtrey has built an amazing business. Remote COO, they help small to mid-sized businesses with administrative functions, marketing, building process, building procedures, helping them grow. And they have an amazing reputation for doing what they do. I've known Sasha for a couple of years now, and we are so lucky to have her on here talking about what she does. This is season 2, episode 5, I think, right, Matt? Is that correct? Let me double check. Season 2, episode 5. And so let's welcome Sasha Crabtrey to the show. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, Corey.
How was the bio? Did I get it?
You did a fantastic job.
It was like the shortest bio you've ever had read in your life.
But it's great.
Yeah, I know. No one wants to hear about us, right? They just want to hear how they can make their business better. But before I say that, you said you're going on 18 years in business and you have a team of 12.
Yes, sir.
That is awesome. Congrats. That's no small feat.
It's been a lot of work, a lot of love, a lot of tears.
You guys, you had the campaign, was it something in the grind?
Yes, be kind in the grind.
Yeah, you were selling merch and the whole deal?
Yes, sir.
Very cool. Awesome. So I know a large part of what you guys do at Remote COO is work with business owners to help them put process and procedure in place, not only to kind of execute on what they're doing today, but with an eye to the future. So kind of walk us through, we all know what process is, but I guess walk us through kind of in your experience and what you do, the importance of getting it right, building that right process, and what are some of the things people might kind of not think about when they're building those processes?
Well, I mean, I would first say that don't put too much emphasis on building it right. Like, let's get something in place and get started, because sometimes that hinders people with, oh my gosh, I have to do this so perfectly. But as business owners, like in the back of our head, we generally know that systems and processes, they create consistency for us. They allow us to delegate. And that consistency and delegation is a key component of your client and customer satisfaction. And being able to delegate is the easiest way to increase your capacity as a business owner. So 2 very important components can come out of creating some systems and processes in your business.
I think what you just said is one of the most effective ways to grow is to be able to delegate. And I don't know if you've shared this experience, but a lot of business owners have a hard time with the delegation. And my theory has always been it's kind of a trust issue, right? I don't trust people will do it like I do it. And then on the other side, process is such a buzzy kind of term, but I think it's really important. Whether you think you have a process in place, you have a process, right? Whether you've documented, whether you formalized it, whether it's ad hoc, this is how we do things. There's something there, right? And I think what I think I heard you say was by kind of formalizing something, even from the smallest to the biggest tasks, it will almost help build trust amongst a business owner and the people he's expecting to execute. Am I kind of?
You're absolutely on the right page. Part of it's about transparency. Part of it is about empowerment of the team. If you have a team who you can delegate to. And I mean, that having the right team, in place is critically important. So who you're delegating to really matters.
Yeah. fair enough. And by kind of, well, let me ask you this. Is there big or small? Is there a cutoff, or is it more important to finalize or put something in place for the bigger, operationally in a business? Or is it equally important to have, ways and processes to do things for the small things? Are they more suitable to certain situations?
I would say think about what is strategic and key to your business first. So I would prioritize. It's not about kind of big or small. It's about what is impacting and creating the best, maybe ROI, or the biggest impact in how you serve your clients, or how the clients see that customer service experience, starting with just, the sales process, the proposal process, the onboarding. All of those pieces are key in how the, client or customer perceives your business. So I would say those are really important ones to start with. But it depends on your business and kind of outlining all of the pieces to see either, where you might need help. I mean, maybe you've got red flags going on over here, and those are the first ones you need to focus on. So it really just depends on the business.
Okay, so you just touched on something else that's really cool, and you said it right off the beginning, but by building these consistencies into the business, it enables a business owner to trust and delegate, which for them is life, right? If I can delegate and go home and have extra time to have dinner with my family and go to bed and not stress out about something getting done or not being done. But then the unintended consequence is that is consistency amongst your the way you're delivering your message as a sales team. That's consistency in the way you're delivering in terms of your product, whether it's a service or a product that you're creating. We're building consistency that benefits the owner, but also the client and the sales cycle.
That's right. And I'm talking about kind of sleeping better at night. I mean, think about the risk that your business has if you're the only one who knows how to do something in your business. I mean, you're intentionally creating blockers for growth in your business, or just a potential, downfall, if you will, if you're the only one who knows how to do something should something happen in your life. And so you're putting, your business at risk. And a lot of times people don't think about systems and process as, something they need to look at under risk mitigation.
I see that, and I've experienced it, and I understand that, right? And some people think that knowledge is power, but it only kind of becomes powerful when you start sharing it around. Right. And so what limitations do you think can fall on a business if they're not kind of documenting these process and rolling them out and putting them in place? What are the kind of the pitfalls someone might run into if they are just saying, no, we'll do this by feel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely overwhelm for the business owner. And for your team, if you are delegating to them, or 2 or 3 different people are managing a certain, type of process, and it's going to be done differently every time. And you won't have that consistency and excellent customer service that you're probably telling your clients that you have, because if you're not communicating kind of what your expectations are for how your team handles something, then they're going to do it how they see fit. And that might not be how you want your company represented.
Right. Or how you think it should be, right? This is the way we've always done it, and it's a little different. So let's kind of dig into maybe something. Let's kind of have some fun with a specific example, because we're being really, really broad, right? In your experience, what is kind of one of the more important areas to maybe lay something down to build that consistency in?
Well, like I kind of talked about earlier, the whole proposal, like sales proposal, onboarding process, I think is critically important, especially for, B2B clients or service-based industries where you're doing kind of consultant work. It's going to be a little bit different for e-commerce or like products, if you will. Yeah. But that first interaction that your customer has with you or your service is so important. And it can cause you to lose sales if you're not following up when you promised you would and don't have a system in place to do that, or to have someone to help hold you accountable in those places. So that's one of the first places you want to take a look at. And you're likely already doing that. If you have a business, you're selling. Yeah. So you're talking to prospects, you're talking, to potential customers, and you're creating proposals, and you're working on all of those pieces. And so you're doing it. You're just not like labeling it out so that you don't have any gaps or holes.
Okay, so let's then dig into that. So we're looking kind of at that first impression sales cycle type stuff. Mm-hmm. What are some of the common mistakes that you've experienced people are making when they believe they're putting something in place, or they think they have something in place? What are some of the mistakes that people make along the way where they could be doing it better or more effectively?
Mm-hmm. Probably the top two that I see are going to be just documenting it in maybe a Word document, or writing it down on a piece of paper, or just they're too overwhelmed to even kind of start the process. So I think those are the two that kind of keep people inefficient, with it, and not in a, system to where it's repeatable.
So this is a genuine question for you. People think, okay, we need building a process. That sounds like a lot of work. And you just said, just putting it in a Word doc. Yeah. So when we talk about documenting a process, does it have to be super? Do we need to get out, get on PowerPoint and get out the charts and the arrows and do all that stuff? Like how simple can we make this?
No, you don't. I say start simple first, because people do feel like it's too overwhelming, or it's really bigger. I don't have time for that type of thing. I would say just start with a simple kind of brainstorming and think like a checklist in mind, as opposed to the infamous like SOPs. Everybody's like, I need SOPs, and that maybe it's a whole other podcast. That
sounds intimidating. Right? SOPs, that sounds like a lot of work.
Right. And I guess what I'm saying is just start with the workflow. Just start with the process. Just start with those 5 bullet points of what needs to happen in order for you to do X. And just let that kind of marinate a little bit, turn it into a checklist. So start simple. Something is going to be better than nothing.
Okay. And then, so we kind of build out a checklist, and then you get feedback, and people say, okay, well, this is good, but we forgot something, or we need to add. So is this a living, breathing document, or how does that work?
Your processes should always be a living, breathing document. There's always room for improvement in them. And that's why PDFing a 17-page document and sticking it in a file somewhere is not going to do anything for you. It needs to be, somewhere where it's tangible and usable in a platform, or in a project or task management system, or somewhere where you are able to access it, that you expect your employees to access it, and that it's usable on a regular basis. So I can kind of check those things off and make sure that I'm doing each part of the process.
Could it be as simple as like photocopying it 100 times and having it at everyone's desk? So as they're going through the step 1, step 2, step 3?
Absolutely. Again, it's just kind of that checklist piece of things that helps kind of keep that consistency in order. I read a book. Have you read the Checklist Manifesto?
No, I probably should.
It's an awesome book. And it really focuses on the, if your checklist is, way too complex, then nobody's going to use it. Okay. Right. Because their mind is just going to skip over like, hey, I do this every day. I don't need this. And so literally they just check the boxes and send it on, even if you have a piece of paper there. But if it's too simple, then you make mistakes. And where the book focuses on is in the operating room. Right. And so it's not completely medically based, but it's very important to have checklists there.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine.
So kind of figuring out that nice balance between it being overly complex and too simple, so that it's usable and people will make sure that they're actually doing each part of it. And so that's more of the polishing that you have to do.
So that's the super simple version.
Mhm.
My wife loves it when I say use words like super simple. But then I'm sure if you want to get technical, and I think you can agree or disagree with this, but I think a lot of kind of small businesses that are in growth phase, they're busy and they view kind of maybe creating these as really labor intensive, and we don't have time for that. I think that was the second reason you outlined, right? It's a time thing. But just having a brainstorm session or going to your sales guys and say, look, do me a favor for the next 3 days. Every time you go through the sales cycle, just kind of bullet out what you're doing, and then we can cultivate those or whatever, right? But then you can get as complex as building that right into your CRM, right? So they're kind of have to go through the steps that are outlined to contact a person and move them through that funnel, so to speak.
That's right. But you can't do that piece. I think some people try to jump right into their CRM or jump right into their project and task management system and write it out perfectly. And what I'm suggesting is that you start with just kind of a brainstorming session, just like you mentioned, have that piece of paper next to your desk. And, as you actually do the task, just kind of write it down and understand, well, I take them here, I do this piece, I click this button, whatever that kind of looks like, it to build out what the sales process is and how they're supposed to be, entered. And then you have something to work with to actually put into a system. But if you try to just jump right in and start typing it out in there, it gets confusing, it's overwhelming. Then you're like, oh, this part needs to go here versus here. And sometimes that's easy in a platform and sometimes it's not.
My aha right there was, this bit of like some people do the ready, fire, aim. It's like, we need a process. So let's just hire someone to build it out in the CRM before they've actually figured out what it looks like and how it works. They kind of, in our head, we think we know how it works, right? How many times have you had an idea in your head and then you start writing it down and you're like, this is a horrible idea. It doesn't make any sense at all, And
well, sometimes business owners, they call and they say they just want to hire people to write the process. And well, I'm not in there doing the process. Like, you can't just hire me and walk away and say, go document this. You have to be a part of that and have and understand kind of the expectations and what you want the outcome to look like and how you think that it's usable.
Okay, so here I'm picking up valuable information. So you said, have the people that do the job start. Be the people to start it. Then the next thing you said was, don't get fancy right away. Just keep it simple, pen and paper, bullet stuff out, lay them over top of each other and see how much of it lines up and if there's any kind of things that are any sequencing issues. I'm using my own words, not your words. So, then you can't hire people to do a process for your business if they don't work in your business.
Well, there are companies that do that, but understand that takes time and they have to get into your business and understand those working pieces. I don't feel like they can just do it from interviewing a couple of people.
Right. Okay. And then, so that was all bullet number one. I think you said, they think it's kind of overwhelming and a big deal. And what you've said is it doesn't have to be a big deal. Just ask the people that are doing the job to start jotting down some notes. Don't overthink it.
Right.
And then the next piece you said was they kind of overlook it because they're too busy and they think we don't have time. It's too cumbersome. And it doesn't have to start cumbersome, right? You can chunk it out. You can eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think kind of creating those lists of things to say, what are your priorities? Circle those top 3 that you feel are a priority in your business. Take that first step to break them down. Then you start breaking down a little bit further on each of those kind of 5 bullet points. When somebody's looked over the process and wants to see the gaps, only from there can you take that to a system, a tool, a platform that you need to actually make the process dynamic. So now you've got some kind of workflow to build this process out and kind of trial it, right?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense because I don't even run I'm a small shop, but even when I think of doing process, I always think, man, it feels like a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't, you can just kind of do it sequentially and do it in the right order and get it right, kind of as right as you can at each step. And that's going to save you a ton of time.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, the next step after that's kind of just looking at a little bit more technologically savvy types of ways too.
Right.
Either start, you can record using, Zoom or Teams, you actually completing the process as you need to do it, to document, each of those steps, and then have someone kind of outline that for you. There's also a couple of systems that will do that for you. There's scribe.com, and it will watch you do the process and record you doing it. And then it will write out the steps for you along with screenshots that it thinks is important. And that's been incredibly helpful for our team.
Wow. That's super cool. Awesome. So I don't know about you, but in my experience, it's been, and processes, we often develop them for where our current revenue. And sometimes the way we've developed them or the tools we're using get maxed out. They peter out, right? And so then we kind of have to break it and maybe make a new one or change and twist. So you alluded to it earlier that these are living, breathing documents, these processes. And so I guess long way of asking, once you create it, how married to these things should you be?
Well, I mean, I think you need to give it enough of a trial, right, to see where the gaps are, and if that particular thing or blocker that happened is specific to a certain situation, or does it apply to the overall, process, before you start making changes to it. But you kind of have to work through it and give it a try and make sure that who's ever trying it is taking notes on that.
Interesting. And do you think you can outgrow a process that you've created in your business?
Sure. I mean, absolutely, because probably those first times you have a process, it's probably pretty manual. Then some technologies are going to come along. You might start automating some things. And so that means your processes need to, update, or you divide out jobs or responsibilities different. You end up hiring more people on your team. And now this goes over here versus here. And so kind of assigning who does what and having kind of a keeper of those processes for each, division, if you're that large, or maybe it's you as a business owner.
It's funny, right? These feel like they can be cumbersome, a bit of a pain in the ass to put together. And do we really need them? In my opinion, they're if you want to grow and scale, you need to have them. You've outlined really clearly that this is the benefit there is to the business owner, to the business itself, to the clients, to the delivery. And we need to kind of take them we need to consider them and take it more seriously about getting these things done. And it doesn't have to be as big a deal as we think it is.
It's very true. It's very true. It doesn't have to be the, arduous kind of SOP type of thing. Just a simple checklist is a good place to start.
Cool.
And you can build, on those things. And AI, man, power of AI, it is out there helping you create processes as well. And it's built into so many different platforms now. So ask ChatGPT how you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and it will tell you.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? So, and we've kind of touched on it, and it might be a little redundant, but I think it's worth repeating. We've talked about what they are and the importance of building process in your business. We've talked about kind of the mistakes people make around building them. And then, other than calling Remote COO and saying, "Hey, Sasha, I need help." If I were a business owner here right now, thinking, you know what, I kind of have that mindset. I've been putting this off, thinking I'm too busy, or what we have is good enough, but maybe my delivery is being hurt. Maybe I could be getting more hours of sleep or having more dinners with my family if I were to implement these things and could trust people to deliver because it was standardized a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you recommend for them, kind of the first 1 or 2 steps that they could take to start getting it right?
So I would say start with that kind of brainstorming session on the actions and responsibilities that you have on a regular basis. Maybe it's your challenges or even your pain points, because those can show where the inconsistencies are as well. So start with just kind of that brainstorming, like you had mentioned earlier. Keep that piece of paper on your desk, and as something comes to mind or you find yourself doing something repetitive, to write it down.
And when you talk about brainstorming, who's in that room?
That depends, right? That depends on the size of your business. But every person in every position can take this approach to think through what are they doing on a regular basis. That does need to be documented so that it can be, delegated to, or if that employee leaves, like you want to think through all of those, pieces. So it doesn't have to be some big session with your entire team until you've kind of got a little bit down the line where you're pulling all the pieces together and can kind of see the totality of it and which divisions or which people or jobs are affected by that particular process. Then bring it together and let's polish it.
Okay, so again, I think that's important, because what I think I heard you said was, start kind of with. So if we look at the sales function, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to a few salespeople and say, hey, what do you think you do? Then maybe talk to the sales coordinator and say, what do you think you do? And then maybe talk to the technical salespeople and say, what do you think you do? Okay, I need you all to document, then bring that information in, and then maybe bring them all in together and say, okay, let's really flow this out and who's involved where and do all that. Is that what you were alluding to?
That's absolutely what I'm saying.
Okay, good. I got it right. Whew. I was worried. So that's awesome. That information is fantastic. Thank you. I do believe a lot of people put it off for the exact reasons you said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too busy and it's too much work. And we're doing okay right now. We don't really need that, right? We're blowing and going, but eventually you kind of hit that wall and you need something to standardize or to make things easier. And I always say, when your only input is time, you're in a bit of trouble. When all you can do is work longer and work harder to grow your business, you're probably at a real important point in your business, and you need to start making decisions.
Yeah, we're all okay until the day we're not.
Correct. I agree with that 100%.
And that's too late.
Exactly, right? Because when you finally realize it, your clients may have realized that 3 months ago, 6 months ago, or your warehouse might be empty, right? The person who's doing the ordering may have realized that a while ago too. So it does get really important. So thank you, Sasha. I know you guys do such great work at Remote COO, and everyone I know who's ever worked with you guys has nothing but great things to say. And I know you guys are expert at what you do, and I know the people you bring on board are really, really good at what they do.
It's all about my team.
Yeah.
They're the ones out there with our clients. So
yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time to give us the insight. I believe it's useful. People are probably thinking, well, what's the process? Of course I know, but once you start breaking it down and understanding, it's important. And I know you and I work with small business owners. They're busy. They're doing the best they can. They have an incredible amount of responsibility in terms of making sure people can put food on their table and making sure the business is going in the right direction. And any way we can help them do better for their people, because then their people can do better, and then the families of those people do better, and then the community does better, and it's a trickle down, right? And just by hopefully someone out there has gone, you know what, I'm that person who's been making excuses, and Sasha's kind of giving me some real simple things just to kind of move this in the right direction. I think that is valuable, and hopefully it resonates with someone out there. So
we got started.
What's that?
I said, just get started.
Yeah, take the first step, right? What's that old proverb? The 1,000-mile journey is got to take the first step. So Sasha, now I asked you to give advice without contacting you, but if anyone does want to contact you, how can they reach you?
At remotecoo.com.
And you can schedule a consultation to talk to you guys. You guys are a help first organization, right? There's no weirdness there.
No strings there.
Okay.
Love talking to small business owners. So
awesome. And how else can we get in touch with you?
They can find myself or Remote COO on LinkedIn. That's where we're at the most.
Very cool. Yep. And there you go. Look at Matt is on it. He's got
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So any last words?
Last words. I would say to business owners, your time is worth you investing in putting together systems. It allows you to focus on what you started the business for, where your passion is at. And if you want to do more work that is in that wheelhouse for you, that's in that passion piece of why you started your company, then start laying out some of the processes and systems so that you can get help and support, consistency and transparency in your business, and you can stay doing the parts that you love.
Man, that was incredibly well said. And if you want to get some expert advice and get a push in the right direction, call Remote COO, ask for Sasha, she'll help you out. That's right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. It was awesome. Great information. Like I said, I think it's super useful and helpful for business owners out there just to hear that. Like, you're not alone out there. Other people are struggling with this too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sasha. Well, there it is. That is the conclusion of season 2, episode 5, how to build process. If you liked what you heard, make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. We're always looking for more subscribers on YouTube. If you like what you heard and you're an audio person and like to listen to podcasts while you're driving, you can check us out on all the major platforms. Key Hire, Small Business Podcast. You can follow us on our LinkedIn page. We're touching on 1,000 subscribers to that page, which is awesome. And you can always jump on the website and sign up. We also have a free consultation, no weirdness, no strings, no sales, just there to help small business owners. If you have any questions about talent, upgrading talent, what people should be doing, how they should be delivering, anything to do with talent or constraints in your business, we'll be happy to talk to you about that stuff. Until next time, stop grinding, start growing.